Hello and welcome to the Human Echoes podcast, the show where we review oddball movies, have oddball discussions, and occasionally take questions from you, the oddball fans.
I'm Tony Southcott.
I am Albert Berg, and it's the most wonderful time of the year. Do you know what time of the year is this, Tony?
Denver Comic-Con? Summer?
No.
Or not Denver Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con?
No. We're
a few weeks out from football season, so that's really good.
It's Sharknado week on Sci-Fi! Oh,
Boo.
yes, it's all kicking off, ladies and gentlemen.
Boo.
It's here. Tony doesn't like it, but he doesn't have to like it because it's awesome.
It's okay. It's marginal at best, but it's okay.
Like when this comes out,
like it.
We'll be at the end of Shark Week on Sci-Fi, so you'll have missed out on a great many of these. But I just wanted to top off the podcast real quick at the top here before we get into the movie and tell you guys some of the movies that you could have been watching all week this week. Are you ready, Tony?
No, I'm not.
Atomic Shark. Three-headed shark attack, obviously. We've covered that one. Beast of the Bering Sea. Chupacabra. Dark Seas. Which is where they have a chupacabra bit in the ocean.
That doesn't even make any sense.
Dam sharks. Which the dam is like a dam, Tony. Like a beaver dam, but with sharks.
All right.
And the dam is made out of people. I started watching that one last night. Huh?
They don't have like thumbs? How do they make that? Do they just like ram people into it?
Yeah, they just find a choke point and ram the bodies together. You have more questions?
No, my question.
I watched the movie. I can give you answers. It actually wasn't that bad. I recommend that one.
Yeah, I sincerely doubt that. I feel like the questions I have are more about like how did they get writers to do this and did they shoot themselves afterwards? Because I sincerely hope that they did. Like
with the movie camera as like extras in the film, most likely yes, Tony.
No, what I'm hoping is that they submitted that script. They walked over to their gun cabinet because they're responsible gun owners. They took the time to unlock that. They selected, hopefully, a 12-gauge shotgun and shoved it so far down their throat that they were gagging on it before they shot themselves in the face.
Next up, we have Ghost Shark. Just ignoring that horrifying imagery. And right after that, Ice Sharks, Tony. Ice Sharks. They're sharks in the ice. I'm skipping a lot of these. Okay. Here's maybe my favorite, Tony. And I have all these set to record, by the way. I was just like scrolled through and I was like, that one. And AJ was sitting next to me in the bed going, that one. No, not that one. That one. Just, it was great. It's great when they get to that imitation phase. Here is the best shark movie title of the Sci-Fi Sharknado Week month. Are you ready?
I am not ready. Decidedly not.
Ozark Sharks.
Aren't the Ozarks in the middle of the country? Like, is it at an aquarium in the Ozarks? What's going on there?
I don't know. I can read you the little description there. It says, a picturesque family vacation to the Ozarks goes sideways when a group of bull sharks show up to take a bite out of the town's big firework festival. They just show up. It doesn't say why. Runner-up title, by the way.
So much that I hate about this right now.
It was a really tight contest, but this is like my other favorite title of the week. Planet of the Sharks.
I mean, are they sentient? Are they walking around? Have they been like toyed with all like Planet of the Apes style so that they're able to create a society?
No, it's our planet. It's just global warming. Like, what's the Waterworld style?
Where everything melts and apparently
there's just a lot of water.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Great.
And they're just like a giant school of sharks.
This
is one I decided not to record because it sounds just more awful than even I can take. Are you ready for the one that I took a pass on, Tony?
Sure.
Ragin' Cajun Redneck Gators.
How is that further than any of those Sharks movies?
No,
like that could actually happen. You could have Raging Cajuns getting eaten by alligators.
But they're just like cashing in on the whole like redneck craze, right? They're just
redneck
sort of
exploitation.
Yeah, I hate that.
Or would that? It's probably easier to say hicksploitation.
Yeah. There, Robo Croc is obviously on here. That's a good one. All the Sharknado movies, naturally. We're not going to touch on Sharktopus. And then, wraps up with Zombie Shark, which is a great title. Doesn't, is not nearly as good as it sounds.
So
those are the ones
you're saying that like this Zombie Shark just doesn't live up to its potential because it doesn't.
It does not. No. Bait is, there's a lot of other ones on here too that aren't hilarious. Like Bait is on here, which everybody should watch. But I just want, and by the way, when this comes out in 2 days, 2 days after this comes out, Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens, will be releasing on Sci-Fi. I will be watching it and tweeting about it and possibly recording some kind of review afterwards. So y'all are going to want to tune in for that.
It's the only one that might be even slightly remotely tolerable out of the list that he just said.
I swear to you that Damn Sharks was not a bad movie.
I swear to you that there's no way that was a good movie. At all. Ever. They just ram bodies to make a dam.
That's not, like, the sharks aren't, well, okay, the sharks are probably kind of the stars of the movie. I'm talking like the human people. It wasn't, in the context of making a movie for like $10 with sharks in it, this is one of the good ones.
Al Berg, professional movie critic, shark lover.
I am. I won't back down. That is not, however, the main attraction for this week's episode. This week, we are talking about the Netflix original movie,
The Fundamentals of Caring.
Yes, based on a book, which I did not pull up the information on that, but I am interested in reading after having seen this. This movie took me by surprise, Tony. I know that nobody's going to respect my opinion after all the stuff I just said about sharks, but I love this movie.
It was all right.
This movie was great. And really funny.
It was decently funny. Like I didn't like it quite as much as Al did, but I also like whenever it's movies that are all like tear jerky and all that stuff, I just don't get into them as much as Al does.
It definitely is like pushing all of those buttons as hard as it can.
Whenever I see a movie like this as a Netflix original, it always surprises me that it doesn't get any sort of theatrical release. They really could have put this out there. I feel like with the star power it had built into it, like, this could have actually been a pretty decent summer movie.
Well, I think that's the point, right? Netflix is going after, A, big stars, and B, these kinds of broad appeal type things, at least that has broad enough appeal. Their strategy has really interested me for a while now, because you have these sort of, like, highfalutin, nerd appeal, not just nerds, but I'm saying like it appeals more to our segment of the population, like Stranger Things, right?
Yeah.
Where I just love that show, and a lot of people really, really love that show, who I sort of talk to and hear from on Twitter, and I'm hearing a lot of buzz on that. I'm not hearing the buzz for Fuller House, but I have to imagine there is a really good reason why they picked something like that, right? And I'm not hearing anybody who really loves Adam Sandler's stuff on there, but I also have to think they're looking at some numbers saying it's going to get us some major dollars if we put Adam Sandler crappy movies on our Netflix.
Well, it's a major problem that they've been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking with their library because it's getting more expensive to license good movies and to keep shows on there for a long period of time. So they're just kind of circumventing that by creating their own content.
I keep seeing people complain about Netflix selection, and I watch a lot of quote unquote television, by which I mean Netflix. Okay. And I will scroll through and be like, I don't know what I'm really interested in, but I've never felt like that there wasn't something on there that there wasn't something to watch. I've always thought there's something here. I've just got to be in the right mood for it, and I've got to find it.
Yeah, but when was the last time you actually went to Netflix and were like, hey, I want to watch this movie, and they actually had it? It's been like 4 or 5 years for me since that's happened.
But that's kind of what I like about Netflix, because they have stuff I haven't heard of.
That's not but that's not a good attribution to your platform. None of the stuff you want, but stuff you might get. Okay, we're obviously coming at this from completely opposite viewpoints, because for me, like, stuff that I didn't know that I wanted is 100% of the reason why I would go on Netflix in the first place.
That's a big reason why I like Amazon Prime too, because Amazon Prime has so much trash, like just so much, Mega Python versus Gatoroid type stuff. And I'm not just saying Mega. I mean, like there's all of the bad creature movies from way back, like from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and just
So Amazon Prime is like your Criterion collection. It's just like specifically made for you, monster movie wise.
It's like a big heaping plate of French fries, and they're covered over with chili and cheese and like little bits of bacon, and it's so bad for you. All right, there's no nutritional value anywhere, but they just like pick that fry up, and it's got that cheese streaming off of it. And you just dip it, running around in that chili sauce.
How do you counter the feeling when you're watching those movies that you're like literally dying?
I'm literally dying whenever I watch any movie. What are you talking
whenever
about?
I watch a good movie, I actually feel like I feel full. I feel like picked up. I don't feel like I'm getting cancer, like just feeling my pancreas
I don't feel like I'm getting cancer when I watch a great bad movie.
Like, that's not possible. Those movies are so bad that it's probably killing you. Like, do you have life insurance picked out? Like, this is I'm really concerned for the future of your family if you keep watching these movies.
Man, Tony's in a morbid mood today.
Like the writers of that. Like, eventually it can only end in suicide.
Okay. Let's move away from the suicide, Tony. Sheesh.
Well, stop talking about these terrible movies. It's making me hate it. Like, I can't even hear those titles without feeling like this despair building in my stomach.
I just do want to,
like, my
correct.
Heart really hurts right now because those are actually movies that have been made. And it saddens me so much that even like $2,000 or $3,000 and a few people's afternoons were used for that purpose. It's that bad. Like, I seriously, I can't handle it right now. Like, I can't even. I'm like a basic white girl. I can't even. I'm just sitting here seething with anger because those movies have been made.
Okay. Well, I'm not, Tony. I'm not you, all right? And I'm sick of hearing about how that, like, I'm some hipster who's hate watching this so I could be, like, angry at it. That's not the case.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's the case.
Legitimately enjoy it. Now, some of the, when I, like, sometimes I'll watch something and be like, well, this is just, like, man, there was a Gargoyles movie on Sci-Fi a little while ago, like, Sci-Fi original movie with gargoyles in it, and that, like, just boring. The most boring thing you can imagine.
Not like the 70s Gargoyles movie.
I never saw that one.
It
wasn't even like, it wasn't like that the actors were doing a really terrible job or the CG. It was just like the plot was nowhere. No, you didn't care about. Anyway, okay. This is not the fundamentals of caring, Tony. We've gotten way off base on the fundamentals of caring. Let's try to get back in. This is a movie starring Ant-Man. Oh, yep. Yeah, sorry. Paul Rudd.
Also, Craig Roberts, who's been in a lot of kind of indie movies before this. I'm trying to remember some of them. Let me pull them up real quick.
And Paul Rudd plays a caregiver who's going through a really nasty divorce after him and his wife went through a pretty bad tragedy. Very reminiscent of the movie we watched last week, Tony. And he decides to get into this caregiving profession to kind of get him out of his rut. He meets this guy named Trevor who has... what is it? Muscular dystrophy or?
Yeah, some type of muscular dystrophy.
And, Trevor's kind of a smart aleck. Really gives
he's full on smart ass. Like, the entire time he's talking, like the way he introduces himself in the very beginning part of the movie as he charges into the room, making all these loud noises, acting like he's actually full on, like, mentally retarded.
And then you get that sort of sensitive reaction from Paul Rudd where he's like, okay, I won't react to this. I'm not going to be, like, weird about it or anything.
Was it my aftershave? Is there something wrong?
And then the mom's just like, shut up. He's fine, which I absolutely love. And they kind of get into a relationship together where Paul Rudd is sort of working through his stuff and the character Trevor's working through his stuff, and eventually they decide to go on a road trip together to see And by the way, this fits back into what we were talking about earlier, like the crappiest roadside attractions that they can find.
Yeah, Trevor's obsessed with this show every day that he watches, where it's just showing like the biggest bovine or the deepest hole and just all these other things. And he's made a map of the places where it's at, even though he doesn't really have any intention of ever visiting them.
And Paul Rudd's character, Ben Benjamin, great name, by the way. What a terrible set of parents to name their kid Ben Benjamin. Like, our last name is Benjamin. What should we call a first name? Ben. All right, nailed it.
It could be worse if he was actually Benjamin Benjamin.
Do you think that he's not? I mean, Ben is a nickname.
He might be. I wouldn't go that far. I would just do it to the point of insult. Not to the point of actual, like, take my kid away child services.
Do you like? He probably has a middle name though. You think he's like Benjamin Bartholomew Benjamin, just to make it sound like, just so that you don't sound like an idiot when you're yelling at him. If he really needs to get mad, you don't have to yell Benjamin.
My parents never did that. They were never like Tony David.
Yeah, I can't do that with my kid because he barely knows his full name anyway. I'd be like Albert Joseph Berg, and he would say, "What? Who? Where? Who's this guy?" Although we have been teaching him lately. We were just like, all right, he's like, my name's AJ Albert Joseph. AJ Albert Joseph Berg. Great. Ah, man, my kid's so great now that he's 4. 4-year-olds are the best.
Like, it's at an age where it seems like they actually start to listen and care. It's interesting. My nephew turned 4 this week. Like, my nephew and your kid are pretty much at the exact same age. It's been kind of interesting to watch the parallels there, just hearing about it.
Is he getting all lovey-dovey now? Because AJ gets all lovey-dovey. He's like, I love you, Daddy. I love you. Sit on the chair with me.
He occasionally does, like, especially with his niece. He's like, we need to get Kennedy all the cookies and things like that.
He's also at the age where he can blame Jack for everything. I'm like, who pulled all the pillows off the couch? He's like, Jack did it. And if I'm not in there to find out for sure. Anyway, wow, we are off topic all over the place today, Tony. It's great. This is like the olden days of the podcast.
Yeah.
All weird energy.
18 minutes in, and we've talked about the actual movie for maybe 2 of those.
Okay, so he does convince Trevor to go on the road trip. Along the way, they meet a runaway named, I was going to say named Selena Gomez. Weirdly enough, not played by the Selena Gomez. No. Runaway named Dot, played by Selena Gomez. And she kind of gets sucked into their weird kind of planetary attraction of their traveling band. And they also pick up a pregnant lady. And it's sort of all of these people who are broken in some way traveling together to see the world's biggest pit. And it's just, I don't know, it's so endearing to me, and a lot of the humor really worked. Yeah,
it wasn't just cheap laughs. They took their time setting up the gags. Like, it was just a very lighthearted and fun movie.
I do think, here's my one criticism though. I think that if you do have somebody who has these kinds of like issues physically in your life, this movie probably paints a little bit more of a happy-go-lucky picture. Even with the main disabled guy being a huge jerk, it's still like he's still got a sense of humor and kind of bouncing back and forth, and there's a lot of jokes. And I imagine that caring for somebody in that kind of situation and being somebody in that kind of situation can be just incredibly draining at times. And the movie doesn't go there for good reason. The tonal needs of the movie, I think, would have a problem if you sort of delved into the actual darkness of caring for somebody with this kind of disorder, and somebody who knows that he's going to die before he's 30. And assuming that the disease progresses as they're expecting it to. And they don't go at as much of a bummer as it could be.
Yeah, and they show him at times kind of coping with things and having trouble and having panic attacks, but they don't really go into the dark side of that disease. Like, I watched something the other day that was all about ALS patients and them watching themselves knowing that, like, well, in 6 to 7 months, I probably won't be able to walk anymore. In, like, about a year, I might have to get a tracheotomy and basically just be bedridden. And it's like, at that point, do I choose to keep living in the hopes that there's a cure, or do I pick like euthanasia, like that sort of thing? Like, that was a a much darker version than this.
But it's still, if you're looking for something to uplift you, this movie has that in spades. It's really great. It has the best scene of somebody peeing in any movie you'll ever see. I think. I hope that's not a spoiler. I don't want to get more specific than that, but man, was that glorious when that came around. You watch the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it gets hinted at through the entire movie. It's a fun little thing.
Do you think that this is the same rock quarry that they used in Stranger Things?
I was kind of wondering about that. It's very, very scenic. It's huge. It had the same color of water. I
don't know how many of these giant pits there are. So the for those of you who've seen Stranger Things, you know that a big rock quarry comes into play in the plot. I hope that's not a spoiler. I don't think. It's just that there's a big pit. And there's a big pit in this.
I don't think that's a spoiler. There are a lot of movies with a rock quarry.
But it just kind of made me think, like, do they have access to this? Is this something that they saw in Fundamentals of Caring and decided, hey, we could use that? Or is it a coincidence? Is it two completely different places? I know that just because they're both Netflix originals, especially Fundamentals of Caring, I don't think was made by Netflix. Usually Netflix snaps these things up after they've been produced and, gets the exclusive right to air them on their channel or station, if you will, on the internet. But it did seem like an interesting crossover there.
Yeah, and it was kind of hard to tell where some of it was being filmed. I know that it was originally set in Olympia, Washington, but I also saw at the end that it was like filmed in Georgia, even though a lot of the parts look like it's in Idaho and Montana and places like that. So who knows where this movie ended up.
Well, Georgia's a pretty big state, and there's a lot of farmland, I think, up there. So you could that wouldn't be too difficult with, careful location picking and some good color correction.
Yeah.
Color correction will get you far in a movie. I really, really love the bit with the world's biggest bovine, where I knew it was coming. Like, they have that whole long argument, and he finally convinces the guys to carry him up the stairs. And I was like, they're going to stand here for about 5 seconds, look at this thing, and be like, all right. And get carried back down the stairs. Such a great, it's cool because they start out, Paul Rudd plays a really great foil to, the character of Trevor, where he's, on the one hand, he's supposed to be more mature. He is more, he's keeping Trevor in line. He's, pushing him to do more things. But on the other hand, he does kind of share that same sardonic sense of humor. Like, he can give almost as good as he gets in that relationship. And it's nice to see that go back and forth as well.
Yeah, it turns from being like just a caregiver thing into the friendship, which is one of the themes of the movie, is like, whenever you're a caregiver, you have to be kind of despondent. You can't get so involved because you know that this person it's just going to end up hurting you later. And he goes all the way and becomes his good friend.
And do you think that was a good choice, Tony? Within the context of the movie, obviously, kind of everybody ends up happy, and it's not like we get some kind of big lesson like, oh man, shouldn't have got involved.
I think
as
far as his healing process, he needed to get involved. He needed to be with somebody in that sense. Like, I think that for him to grow as a person, he needed something to pull him out of that funk. And just being the caretaker that's despondent and goes to the house, does his 8 hours, and then leaves, I don't think he would have got that personal growth.
One final question that I have for you about this movie, Tony. How bad do you want a Slim Jim after having watched this?
Oh, man, I was thinking about that the whole time. I was like, it's been a while. Those delicious processed meat sticks. I always wonder how that works, if it's just like the people who are making the movie are like, this is a road movie. There's a lot of products we could put in this. Let's send a few emails out and see who wants to give us the most cash to feature their product. And this time it was Slim Jim. Or the writers just really like Slim Jims. I can never tell.
This felt like product placement, but in a good way?
Well, that
makes sense.
Like, a big part of the movie is that he doesn't like to eat anything but sausage and waffles. So, like, getting him to branch out at all, and then all of a sudden he's like, wow, I really like beef jerky, which, granted, it's not that far removed from a sausage. But still.
The it made me want to eat a Slim Jim. Yeah, it did. You're not the only, like, I asked you because I was like I got to the end and I was like, man, I want a Slim Jim. And if they did not pay for that, that was some really great, like, free advertising for them. I mean, sometimes there's a product that's in the background, right? And it feels like that it's just there to make the world feel more real and less movie-like. You get in Breaking Bad and they have, Kix cereal or whatever. They didn't pay Kix to get the use of the cereal. They had to write them and be like, is it cool if we use your logo? Because, we don't want to have just, off-brand movie cereal.
Yeah, and then there's movies where you see the Apple logo plastered on every single computer, illuminated perfectly and delicately in the scene. And that starts to feel like it's a little more product placement.
There are some shows that I watch that feature Apple, but sometimes that feels natural. If it can come naturally, if it feels like the kind of product that the characters would use in the story.
Yeah, and it feels less natural when every logo is covered up by a weird sticker too. I've seen that a lot, where it'll be like an Apple monitor, an Apple laptop, and they actually have like a sticker over the back just covering up the logo.
It's also like, it's less weird when it's Apple than when everybody has a Microsoft Surface.
Yeah. Whenever I've seen product placement like that, the NFL does a lot of it on the sidelines, and Microsoft paid a ton of money so that they would all use Surface tablets on the sidelines. They wouldn't use iPads, and the announcers just don't understand that they're not iPads. They're just these older meathead guys, and they're like, oh, they're looking at their iPad down there, and it's like literally branded on the wall behind them, Microsoft Surface tablet. I'm sure Apple just loves that.
You got to do something, right? I mean, Microsoft is playing catch up. They're playing catch up with Bing, trying to catch up to Google. Bing is probably a fine search engine, Tony. Probably a great search engine. I don't imagine there's anything wrong with Bing. I just can't imagine a scenario where I would go and type in Bing.com. Go.
There have been times where it's hijacked my default search engine, and I've looked for things, and it's been fine. It might even be prettier than Google. Like, they've done a few things to make it more aesthetically pleasing. It's just like we are fully ingrained to the point where Google is an action now.
Yeah, and Google also had the great foresight to not. I mean, Android, they let everybody make. So they do have their hardware. I think that they occasionally put out, here's our Google phone. And I think that is made by another company.
Yeah, usually they do like a round robin thing where this one will be made by Motorola, this one will be made by LG. They're spreading the love a little bit there.
But it's way easier to be an Android person or an Apple person than it is to be a Microsoft person, because Microsoft, I don't know, they don't even.
Try playing Pokemon Go on a Microsoft phone. It's not happening.
Does that even exist?
No, it does not.
Really?
Nope.
That's sad.
Yeah,
I feel bad.
Definitely sucks.
For them.
Which the thing is, if you use a Windows phone, it actually works really well. The way the contacts are integrated, the way the calendar and everything else is integrated, it's a little bit easier to use than an Android or an Apple phone. But the App Store is just like not even 0.1% as good.
Well, I'm sure they'll find some way to make some money, Tony. Microsoft. Maybe we should start a Kickstarter for them.
Surface tablet. Like, I was thinking with all the drawing I've been doing recently, and after trying it a couple times at Best Buy, that stylus, that feel, that everything is just absolutely perfect. I really enjoyed working with that. But they used to be like $300 because it was an entry-level thing, and now they're like $900. So it's going to be a little bit before I end up getting something like that.
You do get a free Xbox One when you order one, though.
That is
true.
So
that's nice. They're trying to move those Xbox Ones before the new Xbox comes out.
Yeah.
This is a short cycle. They have like the weird
it's like
Xbox
an accelerated
Slim.
Xbox One, so it's not going to be a huge difference, and they aren't going to be able to like make the games that much better for it. But you will have significantly less loading times and things of that nature. You'll probably have it be bogged down less whenever you're talking about certain games with a lot of NPCs on the screen.
But didn't they already announce the thing that's going to come after the weird Slim version too?
I thought
they say they were working on like the Xbox. I don't know what the next box. Let's call it
the next box. What I heard is that there was a newer one with a more powerful processor coming out, but that it was going to be compatible with all Xbox One games.
I did know that. I maybe I'm getting my stories mixed up, Tony. I thought that they were pretty close to wanting to have a another iteration of the product out in the next couple of years.
The only time they
Beyond
really
just
do
the Slim.
that within 5 years is if something really flops. And Xbone did have a lot of problems at launch, but it's turned into a decent console. I'm personally happy.
I don't have either
PS4.
one of the consoles, but it seems like they're probably selling enough. I think if you're talking about winners and losers, PlayStation seems like they've won this round. The PlayStation 4 seems like the better option. And if I ever decide to spend $400 in a video game console, I probably will go with the PS4.
Yeah.
But I don't think
it'd be interesting to see where it stacks up with the Wii U numbers, because they always sell a ton of Wiis. But the amount of games they sell is minuscule compared to what the average PlayStation and Xbox user end up buying.
Well, here's a mind-blowing idea. We haven't talked about this on the podcast, by the way, though. Somebody mentioned recently, I think it was at E3, Nintendo released pictures and stats for their newest console that's like an NES console.
Yeah, like the little NES console with like 40 games pre-built in, and they're going to have cartridges that bring other games.
And it'll probably connect to the internet. I would imagine, like, you can get like a Wi-Fi thing and connect to their store and buy games digitally as well.
Yeah, it might even just run off of like an SD card or something like that. You could store the entire library of NES games on a single SD card pretty easily.
And the idea that I heard floated out there was, wouldn't it be crazy if that's the NES is the best-selling games console of 2016?
That's awesome. That would be pretty awesome. I was reading that Sega's actually releasing the same thing now. I don't know if they were planning on putting it out or they just saw the success of that little console, but now you're going to be able to buy like the old Sega with 80 games built in. They're both like $60 consoles, so they're going to sell a lot of those things just purely out of nostalgia's sake. That would be pretty awesome if they outsold the PS4 or something like that.
The great thing about the Pocket NES or whatever they're calling it, I forget. But the great thing about that is that it has HDMI out, and I'm assuming that it's gonna have graphics that render in a better not frame rate, but like more cleanly than they would have come out of the original NES. Not necessarily an upgrade, but that it'll look better on the screen than it does with your old NES plugged into like an HD monitor, which just looks like garbage.
I was playing some Mario Kart and some Mario 64 the other day on a 65-inch TV, and that gets pretty ugly pretty quick. It would be really cool if it was actually like expanded to work with widescreen and just a little bit cleaner.
Widescreen I have less hope for, because that could potentially take some reprogramming. But there's some emulators that have great like smoothing options for your sprites that make the sprites that you're playing with look a lot better. And I would like to see that kind of thing out of the NES Pocket or whatever they're calling it. I forget.
I'm wondering what the initial library is going to be. I'm sure it's going to be chock full with all the Mario games and all of those. But I'm wondering if
they released it. I could pull the list up for you if you want.
I'll check it after this. Like I feel
like there was a lot of good stuff. It was things like Zelda. I have never played, but I kind of want to play. I think they had. You know what? I don't think they had the Final Fantasy stuff in there, although they might have. But it was a lot of games that I looked them up, and not even stuff I was 100% familiar with. But I saw reviews and people geeking out about it. I said, "Oh, I could really get into that." I might ask for that for this Christmas, Tony.
Because
I can swing that. It's $60, right? Yeah. I can't.
It's the cost of one video game.
Yeah, I can't go to my wife and be like, I want a $400 console and also maybe a $60 game to go with it.
And if you want another controller so she can play, it's like $60, and just keep piling up.
And then we'll have to turn it in next year so we can get the VR console, whatever that turns out to be.
I have the fortunate luck of not having kids yet, so I can kind of afford that sort of stuff. But even then, like, I don't buy very many brand new games unless it's something I've been anticipating for a long time, like Fallout. Like, I just can't bring myself to spend $60 on Doom whenever I know it's mostly about the multiplayer.
I do have a pretty okay PC too, which makes some of that bite go away. Where if I wanted to spend money on games, I could. But even the NES Pocket has me very excited. That we are not a gaming podcast though, Tony, and there was other big news in the world of movies this week coming out of Comic-Con. A lot of big trailers that everybody's talking about. And of course, I think the one that is on all of your minds and mine as well is the King Arthur Legend of the Sword trailer.
Don't get me wrong. I've seen a lot of Guy Ritchie movies that I liked. But there is something weird going on with this movie where it looks like the most disjointed thing I've seen in ages.
It's so bizarre. Somebody compared it to Knight's Tale, which I take offense at because Knight's Tale is an amazing movie. Shut your mouth if you're dissing Knight's Tale out there. But this King Arthur thing, I mean, okay, we haven't seen the movie. Maybe the movie's great, but this trailer is cut so weird.
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like they're not telling us anything about this story. Like, yeah, we know the story of King Arthur, but this trailer is just a mishmash of action scenes with nothing going on. It's just so weird.
There were actual good trailers coming out of Comic-Con, Tony. Do you have a list in front of you? Because I'm worried I'm going to miss some, and we wanted to kind of talk through most of the big ones.
List. I've got the TV and the video list.
I didn't see all the TV ones. I saw like The Flash, which, man, you know, I will say something about this because TV's kind of sort of lesser, so we'll get into that first. Guys on The Flash, stop resetting everything. That is not storytelling. You go forward with the story. You set things up, you build your foundation, and you build on top of it. You don't keep smashing down your foundation and building a different foundation.
But then how do you have episodic content that people can understand?
No, I don't. So you're just saying, like, if they want to do that, I don't know. Like, at this point, it's basically, it might as well not even be the same show, right? Like, they might as well just be doing, what's the horror show that resets every season?
American Horror Story.
American Horror Story, right. But with superheroes. American Superhero Story. That's what The Flash is turning into. Oh, this time Cisco's rich and stuff.
I totally get you.
I
always get the feeling that it's like the producers like, no, people want their characters to stay the same. They came here to watch The Flash, not watch The Flash move on from things. All right. The list I've got here, there's a few I'm going to skip over. Like, I didn't see like the asterisk, the Mansion of the Gods trailer.
I don't know what that is.
I watched.
There was the one from Baz Luhrmann or something, or not? Was it who? No, not who's the guy who directed The Fifth Element?
Luc Besson.
But Luc Besson has a new movie that screened a trailer at Comic-Con that is not released to us, but that was getting a lot of buzz from the people at Hall H. I don't remember what the title of it is.
A fan of Luc Besson.
He's done some weird stuff, but
but Leon the Professional and The Fifth Element are just awesome.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those "what have you done for me lately" kind of things. Where what was the one with Scarlett Johansson? Where I actually like the beginning, where she played God essentially. Lucy. By the time she became essentially God, I was like, who am I supposed to be connecting with here? Anyway, that was a little bit of a misfire. She's so good too. She almost saved that movie. Like, as she's turning into whatever weird godlike being, I really did. I felt like Scarlett Johansson did a great job with what she had.
Well, she wasn't the problem with that movie. Like, there was just some writing issues. She did a great job with it. I actually saw that about 2 weeks ago, something like that.
Oh, okay. That's fresh in your mind. That's been like a year for me.
Yeah. I'm just going down this list alphabetically. Bad Santa 2. I liked the first one. I don't think it needs a sequel. Blair Witch.
I didn't know that was a Comic-Con trailer. I saw some news about that trailer, but I just assumed that it was just something that had dropped.
Next one's kind of interesting for us because I have gone on record saying that I thought the Blair Witch Project was a pretty terrible movie. This one is... It looks like it's definitely a sequel, but it's just called Blair Witch. So I don't know if it's considered a reboot.
Okay, so this is like the weirdest marketing campaign ever because they're still... I went to the theater yesterday, Tony. They had the poster up, and we saw the trailer. Me and Brantley went to watch Lights Out together. And they're still calling it The Woods in their, like, current advertising. Did you know that there's the movie that was coming out called The Woods that everybody was talking about?
Yeah.
Right, so the poster, the tagline in The Woods poster is "There's something hiding in the woods," and the thing that's hiding in the woods is the Blair Witch movie. because it's not a movie called The Woods, but they have posters up for it everywhere. They're advertising The Woods. People are going to try to go see The Woods, and it's going to be Blair Witch. That's kind of a cool fake out, but what the heck, you guys?
Maybe they were just trying to get people like me that were like, yeah, Blair Witch was okay.
But are they gonna keep calling it The Woods?
I think they finally made that switch over to Blair Witch now.
Okay.
That's what I've been seeing.
I'm telling you, yesterday, this is Tuesday, yesterday was Monday, I went to the theater at 3 o'clock on a Monday, and they still had the Woods trailer playing, and I was like, this is, like, why are you still playing the trailer, calling it, usually they have the trailers at the movie theater a little bit ahead of time, not the other way around.
Yeah. Next thing on the list is a Netflix original called Blame, which it's their anime. Like, it's even subtitled and everything. It looks...
BLAIM or BLAME?
BLAME.
Okay.
And I couldn't tell anything from the trailer if it looks good or not. The animation looks pretty interesting. There was a new Doctor Strange trailer. I did not watch it because I am sold on the movie and I don't want any more spoilers.
Well, I did watch it, and I can tell you of the superhero trailers, and this is purely subjective. My wife, I love the trailer, but I kind of felt like, okay, this is basically, they have more of the building flipping stuff and a joke at the end. And it didn't turn me off of the movie, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, the Doctor Strange trailer, you guys. Oh! It was just yep, okay, Doctor Strange is... it still looks good, Tony. I'm glad you're cool to avoid spoilers, but there wasn't any information other than, yep, he still got his hands banged up pretty bad. He still goes and does supernatural stuff. And there's a joke at the end.
Next one, Final Fantasy 15, Kingsglaive. I did not watch that one.
That's a movie?
Yeah. Apparently. Okay. Then the next big one, probably the biggest one that I watched, or at least one of the most anticipated trailer drops, was Justice League.
Which I got very excited for.
I definitely did too. It seems like I don't think it was like a plan to make BVS dark and then have this one light. I think it just kind of turned out that way with the writing. But this one definitely seems to have a much more fun attitude towards itself than BVS did.
Did you have any? So you don't watch the Flash TV show?
No.
Right? Okay.
It's not
My wife had an issue with the new Flash. She was like, I can't deal with the fact that there's a new Flash.
I was actually going to ask that if the TV show Flash was the same as the one on there, but it's not that I don't want to watch the Flash. It's just that there's only so many hours in the day.
Well, it is one of those 22 episode things where they're not all good. It's not like, oh man, this is all solid. There's just sort of like, hey, some of this is okay, and then you'll have like a good moment in there, and that it's a problem. But the movie Flash has enough of the TV Flash in it where you can see that, okay, they understand what works about that version of the Flash, but he's different enough where I didn't have a problem looking at him and understanding and sort of differentiating, not just in the costume and the look and everything, but kind of the way he acts. He's got, I don't know, the guy who's playing him, whose name I've blanked on for just a moment. Thank you. Ezra Miller is, I didn't know anything about that he had done before this. And I remember a couple of weeks back, we read those comments from him where he just used the word human like eight times in a paragraph. But he does do a great job with that. And him and Batman interacting are cool. I didn't, everybody's talking about how cool Aquaman is in this. Aquaman doesn't say anything in this.
Yeah, but
he doesn't do anything. He just stands there and looks mean. And Jason Momoa, if you want somebody to stand there and look mean, is great. But I was not blown away by Aquaman in this trailer. I was just like, yep, that's Jason Momoa looking pretty cool.
I was just really glad that they found a way to make Aquaman badass because he's always been like the dumbest superhero.
Well, we haven't seen enough of him to know if they made him awesome or not.
Yeah, but it's at least Jason Momoa. It's not like some perfectly clean-shaven blonde guy in tights. The other thing I really liked about the trailer was the interaction between Batman and Wonder Woman. Like their little interactions and the humor that they got in there, and it felt like a real
moments of levity instead of, is she with you? I thought she was with you. Yeah, you have your one joke in Batman v Superman.
It definitely seems to have the right attitude for a superhero movie, because it's going to be darker than an Avengers type thing, and it's literally like shot with all the darker filters and everything else. But it
does feel like they have let a little more color in, though.
Yeah,
to me,
Cyborg's outfit looks pretty cool. There's a lot to like in that trailer.
Yes,
the Wonder Woman trailer was awesome. I really enjoyed that, but
that was another one. Speaking of color, you get it still feels like it's in that Snyderverse, right? Like it still feels like they're following that basic template, and yet it manages to sneak a lot more brightness in there, a lot more kind of even in the World War II sort of battleground stuff. You have the colors on her uniform popping a little bit more. And
yeah,
I think that
like
stuff
World War I is
works.
pretty easy to make drab because it was just like wastelands and the same color outfits everywhere. So to have her like with the glowing armor in the middle of no man's land and doing all that, it looked really cool. You got to
the
see her
glowing
use
whip
the
as
whip.
well.
Yeah. So I'm excited for that. I thought that she was probably the best part of BVS, and
she was the least bad part of VVS.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't have time to screw her up. But it does look like they're the tone at least feels good to me. It's impossible to tell based on story. And speaking of that, can we go into the Suicide Squad trailer now?
I did watch that one, even though I probably shouldn't have, because I'm sold on that movie.
I didn't love this trailer. I felt like I didn't want that beginning. For one thing, the music was a lot slower in this trailer, which they had Ballroom Blitz and
it was a Queen
thinking
song.
Noises. Yes.
Like, I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Mama just killed a man.
Bohemian Rhapsody, yeah.
Yes, thank you. They had, and those were like all like, yeah, arm pumping kind of things, and then we get to this and it's like, well, this is depressing.
It's also like a 3.5 minute trailer too, so you're seeing a decent chunk of the movie.
Yeah, and that scene at the beginning where they're talking about like, well, we tried. I thought I didn't want to see that. I didn't want to see another giant ring of trash portal. I mean, I love that they lampshaded it, but I didn't. Yeah, okay, we've seen that 800 times in superhero movies, where there's like something floating in the sky and somebody has to go kill it. They did it in the Ninja Turtles movie, Out of the Shadows. It kind of dented my enthusiasm a little bit. The other two trailers have been perfect, and this one just sort of like made me realize, oh wait, this could still be dumb.
You know,
that was just
what might be my favorite trailer from this whole thing was the Lego Batman.
Oh yeah, that was my second favorite.
Like that
Lego Batman was amazing.
Like it just looks like it's not Miller and Lord, is it? For that one?
No, it's a friend of theirs, and I think they sort of helped direct it, or not direct, but like develop it, but no.
Because it definitely has the exact same feel as the Lego movie from this trailer. I don't know if they'll be able to keep it up or make something as good, but I have a lot of hopes for that movie, and that it'll just be like, it'll be a perfect Batman Lego movie. Like, I don't know how that franchise turned into something so wonderful, but I'm hoping that this one lives up to it.
Well, it's really genius that they decided to explore his relationship with Robin as a venue for comedy.
I mean,
because
Robin
that's
pretty goofy. At least the old.
Well, it's such a
Robin.
Weird idea, right? Like it's such a Batman runs around with a little kid and fights crime. I know it. I'm not trying to diss anybody who likes that in the comic books, but it does feel kind of like what?
Yeah.
And then you see it in this, and they're like playing it for laughs, like, oh yeah, he's a little kid, but he, Bruce Wayne accidentally adopted him or whatever, and he needs like it. Just all that stuff works, and like they're playing the like odd pseudo homoerotic thing between them, where he like rips the pants off and is dancing around, and Batman's just like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah,
I can't look you. I have to look you in the eyes right now.
I can only make eye contact with you. Is that Will Arnett who does the voice for that?
Yes, he does Batman.
Yeah, he just seems like he's having so much fun with that.
Robin is that weird nerdy kid with the high pitched voice.
Michael Cera?
Yes. He does. He nails that. I mean, there's only the several bits in the trailer, but especially with the "Come on, Batman! Now we're moving. Come on, Batman! Let's get grooving." Oh,
I'm just
so
excited to see all the cool like actual Batman Lego stuff that come out of it. I might have to buy one of their sets.
Somebody on a comment thread I read about this, somebody was like, the moment I saw all of those Batmobiles drop down, I was like, oh, that's going to hit my wallet so hard. I fully expect for them to like look into the camera and be like, buy these toys at your local Walmart. As a joke, and also, but you actually can buy those toys at your local Walmart, so get on it.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that was part of the reason why they selected that franchise. Out of all the properties that they had access to from the Lego movie, they picked Batman, even though he's got other movies coming out. And it's like, well, he has like 5 built-in toys that can, or like Lego sets that can come with this one. It's the easiest one to adapt.
Yeah, it does. I don't know. I think it's because he was sort of the breakout character. I mean, are you really going to go see like a Princess Unikitty movie? I mean, you will.
If they made it, I probably would, but I don't know if the general public would.
Right. I think that Batman has a little bit more of a built-in appeal, and they have all these Batman movies coming out, which I think gives them the chance to poke fun at themselves.
Yeah.
So, my favorite, though, was the Kong Skull Island trailer.
I was going to bring that up next.
That is so beautiful.
It looks a little too CG for me, but maybe watching it not on my phone will make it a little bit better.
There's so many great moments, like when first of all, I didn't think a lot of it, you're not even seeing Kong, right? Like you're just seeing them running around in the jungle, flying in these helicopters. And a lot of that felt very true to life. And I think having seen it now, knowing that, before, if you told me, oh, we're going to make King Kong type movie and we're setting it during Vietnam in that era and around that, that conflict, I would have thought, what? That's kind of a weird choice. But then you think about Apocalypse Now and the, Heart of Darkness sort of idea behind there. And if you have that kind of plot playing out, but with Kong at the end of the river, it really does, it can lend itself to that era really well. And Kong doesn't have to be, I imagine he will be in it and I imagine he'll show up, but that kind of setting makes it a lot easier for them to make the action and the sort of drama very, very human and less sort of like, big monster based.
And is this the one, is this part of the franchise that's going to eventually have Godzilla versus Kong?
Yes, that's why King Kong is like 800 feet tall in this.
Yeah, it's a little bit
His whole skull is like bigger than the King Kong in the Peter Jackson movies. He's massive, and I love it. And
it just reminds me of the old video games. Like I think you did a Let's Play of it back in the day, like King of the Monsters or something like that. It was an old SNES game.
I've done. There's a Godzilla game we did a Let's Play in, but King Kong was not in that. But yeah, where were we going with that, Tony?
I was just saying, with the size and everything that. You actually had all these monsters going and duking it out, and it was like a fighter game where you could throw Godzilla into a building, and you could have Mechagodzilla come in and do his thing, and all these different monsters, and just reminds me of that. It'll be a lot of fun to watch, because I know you originally didn't like the idea of having King Kong be that big because he was never quite that big in anything else, but because of those games, I was like, that could work.
They did scale up some of the other stuff too, so there's that one shot where you see the the lines above them and you think, oh, those are probably some trees. Then you realize, oh, I think that's a giant spider. With its legs stretching out over them.
It looked like just a huge daddy long legs because the way that the legs were going into a central point like that, where it was just one point. Very strange creature, but it was pretty awesome.
It was that movie. It looks beautiful. It looks, the tension there between John Goodman and Samuel L. Jackson's character, and I don't know what everybody else is going to be doing, but I mean, you really felt that kind of, I don't know, it felt like there was good drama there, and this is maybe the one that I'm most excited. I mean, obviously I'm excited for King Kong and his big giant awesomeness, but I'm also excited for just, you know, the story here. This is one of the few trailers that actually made me excited for, oh, this story is going to be good. These characters are going to be good together. A lot of the other Comic-Con trailers either showed me some of the story that I wasn't excited about, or have just been like, well, the atmosphere and the tone looks cool. Here's some jokes, but what is this actually going to be about? And Kong kind of gives me more of that.
It looks like you'll actually get a really cool version of Skull Island too, whereas the Peter Jackson one, it was like whenever you just started making everything like just a little too over the top.
Yeah, the Jackson one's so weird. I think he was almost too beholden to the original. He was like, oh man, the original's so great, I'm going to remake that. And the nice thing about that is that now that the original has been remade with quote unquote modern graphics, even though some of it was kind of iffy, now they can go off and do this and say, all right, well, we had our direct remake. Now we're going to do something different. Now we don't have quite so much of the love story between Kong and, you know, the Fay Wray type character. It's just sort of this giant monster movie, Heart of Darkness kind of thing. And it doesn't feel like sacrilege because, hey, we already paid homage to that before, and now we can kind of go off and do our own thing.
Yeah, and you're also not going to be able to chain this guy up as easily as that.
No, I don't think anybody's going to be coming to see the eighth wonder of the world from Skull Island. I think they'll probably be hoping that he stays on Skull Island. This does not seem like the kind of thing. There's not a ship unless he ends up like tied up on the like deck of an aircraft carrier with, you know, fire hydrants of tranquilizers being pumped into his blood. Probably he will not be, you know, being shipped anywhere. Although it does make you wonder, how is he going to get off the island?
It's true. I mean, you'd probably be able to swim pretty far.
Maybe? Or you could just wade.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep the ocean is there, but maybe he can just do that.
In the Bahamas or something like that, he might be able to wade to the next island.
I don't think they're in the Bahamas. I really don't.
Yeah, I'm guessing Pacific,
but it will be fun to see. I'm sure they can figure out a way, Tony. Yeah. I'm sure that
you get like
in the interest of getting him to punch Godzilla in the mouth, they will find some way to get him off the island.
Godzilla can also come to him.
That's also true. We got a couple minutes remaining in the podcast here, and I wanted to tell you, Tony, about a new experiment that I've been trying. I tweeted a picture of this yesterday, and I did another one the week before, but I was looking for like hot dog garnish ideas recently, and I came across this website that has like all of these really weird hot dog recipes. So I've been like this lately, my family, I was like, okay guys, we have all these cool ideas. Monday is hot dog day. So like last week we did what was it? Oh, it was I did as good as I could with the materials I could scrape up. We did a Chicago dog, which I've never had before. I was not able to get the nice sesame or coriander seed bun that you're supposed to have, some kind of seed bun. Anyway, was not able to pull that together, but I did get a lot of the fixins. That was delicious. And then this week, I made a bruschetta dog, which was way better than it had any right to be. Right, you have tomato and garlic and like basil leaves, and you like mix all that together with some olive oil and some vinegar, and you like drip that over the hot dog in this Italian bun thing. Oh, delicious. Absolutely delicious. It's such a cool little because I'd never thought about like what are some other things I can put on hot dogs besides ketchup and mustard. And it's like a food.com recipe. It was like a weird slideshow they had, but I'm just going through.
That's kind of awesome. Like I usually just stick with like sauerkraut, mustard, ketchup. I'm not even really a big fan of relish. I've done a
lot of that. What?
I don't like relish either. I'm just not a fan of pickles.
Oh, I love pickles. But what about sweet relish?
I have never tried sweet relish. I wish I liked pickles more because it's like a negative calorie food. Like you can just keep having them.
Yeah, you want to get good ones, though. I've got some off-brand pickles in my fridge right now, and I had a whole jar of, not Vlasic, but some name-brand stuff. And I bought them after to put on these hot dogs, and I just finished them off that week, and I've still got that off-brand jar from Dollar General. Lots of great stuff at Dollar General. Love their off-brand products for a lot of purposes. Do not get their pickles. Their pickles are not great. They're all mushy and not crunched in anything. But the Chicago Dog has like a whole slice of pickle in it, Tony. And then you sprinkle sweet relish and mustard and like slices of tomato on top.
So yeah,
next week we're doing the chimichanga dog.
Are you deep frying it or something?
That's what the recipe says to do, so that's what we're going to do.
Nice.
You like wrap it up in a flour tortilla and drop it in there, and then like you bake it with some cheese on it.
Did you see the weird hot dog I found?
No.
It's
the candy one?
The candy, like the gummy hot dog. It's like a full-size hot dog too. It was just at a Cracker Barrel. I don't know.
Of course it was.
I don't know if you have a Cracker Barrel down that way, but like I was just in the little general store they have before you get seated, and I was like, "Holy crap, that is a huge gummy hot dog." Do people not
have Cracker Barrel? We do definitely have Cracker Barrel here.
I've seen it in other places. I just didn't know how far-reaching it was. It's kind of like how we don't have Piggly Wigglies.
Yeah, well, we don't have Piggly Wiggly anymore. We used to, but it's Cracker Barrel is an interesting place. I have some really great memories. They'll have like weird little knickknacks and stuff, and because part of it's a restaurant, and then like connected to the restaurant, they have this. For those of you who may not know, they have like a store where you can buy. It's basically a restaurant with a gift shop attached.
Yeah, and like their front patio is just entirely filled with rocking chairs, and you can buy any of the rocking chairs too. It's like weird candy, like lots of knickknacks for your folks, and rocking chairs. That's pretty much all they sell. And
they have like the giant cloth checkerboards out front as well.
Yep.
But one of my favorite memories of Cracker Barrel is buying the episode like a cassette tape of Suspense, the radio show, and playing that on a trip somewhere. That was I love Suspense. I think I've talked about
any cassette tapes there. I would not have been surprised.
They probably don't have many more.
But I did not see
I imagine they're on CD now. But that was such a great show. And this was too, Tony.
Oh, yeah.
That'll do it for this week on the Human Echoes podcast.
Despite all the crap I gave to Al at the beginning, some of those shark movies sound fascinating, if not terrible. So, anyway, I think we're actually...
I'm fully expecting a lot of those to just bomb, by the way. But boy, do I love going through this title and being like, oh, Planet of the Sharks!
Just a reminder before we get into the end rollout, we are entering our Viewers' Choice Month. So if you guys want to go in a couple days, whenever it comes out, and nominate the movies that we have to watch for the month of September, now is the time. Nominations will be open for about 15 days, then you'll be voting for 15 days. You got to fill out every Friday, and it's going to be another interesting Viewers' Choice Month. I'm sure there's going to be some torture. There's probably going to be at least one good one. We'll see what we can do about watching a movie with you guys. So be sure to check that out. Another thing to check out...
August 1st on humanechoes.com.
While you're at humanechoes.com, you should look into becoming a member. If you become a member, we have bonus podcasts for you every week, as well as pins, postcards, and all sorts of other stuff that is really awesome. We enjoy sending it out. We really enjoy making the bonus podcast. It's one of our favorite things to do. I think we'll be releasing another sample here soon. So go ahead and check that out.
And we have a new episode coming out this week. It'll be out right before this comes out. So those of you who are already members, if you haven't listened, get on that.
Yep. And basically it starts out $2, $5, $10, $20 a month. Even at the lowest tiers, you get the bonus podcast. It really helps the show out. Last way you can support us, or one of the easier ways, is to go to humanechoes.com and click the Amazon link. Anything you buy for the next 24 hours we will get a cut of that. It doesn't cost you anything extra. And a lot of you guys have been buying office supplies. A lot of you have bought books. There have been people who've bought the Writers Arena books, so we got to double dip on that. It's been awesome. So thank you guys for participating in that. We didn't talk about what movie to watch next week. So
we're watching Dune with Evil Waffles next week.
Oh yeah, we are.
Yeah, we definitely talked about that. We're going to have a guest reviewer on the podcast. He is a big Twitch streamer, and we have been in correspondence with him. He wants us to watch Dune. Boy, does that ever fit in our oddball movie category. Yeah. I have not seen it yet, Tony. I know it by reputation. I know that people think that it's weird. It was a giant budget sci-fi movie directed by David Lynch that did not find its audience. But I'm looking forward to experiencing it for myself.
I mean, I am as well. I saw it not too long ago when Evil Waffles and I were supposed to do a podcast. Al actually wasn't even going to be a part of that one. I
shutting me out.
Yeah, always. But I think that you guys are going to like him. He's a big Twitch guy. He's also a big guy in general. He's 6'8". So
Wow.
Yeah, he's a tall dude. But anyway, we will see you guys next week with Dune.
Bye.